So we are being recorded, everybody, so we can look back at this if you missed anything. But what we're going to do right now, then, what I want everybody to do is this paper right here is called ISO grid paper, okay? What you're going to do is you're actually going to tape the ISO grid paper down to your desk, all right? So the same method that we used when we were hand drafting. We're not going to worry about the drafting boards because that's just overkill for what we're doing. But yeah, just carefully tape down to your desk in all four corners here the ISO grid paper, okay? And this is going to be fun today. Who doesn't think they can sketch in 3 dimensions? You? All right, we're going to disprove that here today. Oh, that's all right. Good. So if you didn't think you could before, we're going to show you how we can do it using this thing called ISO grid paper.
We didn't have this last year.
I don't think I could. Yeah, we might have done one. I might have done it in a different class. I was kind of fooling around with it. But yeah, I did it in the advanced class. So what I happened to notice when we did our castle, castle in SolidWorks, I noticed a lot of you when I took a quick look at your sketches that what you ended up in SolidWorks didn't look anything at all like your sketch. Okay, fine. But that some of you kind of struggled once you got into SolidWorks because you just started to go sort of without a plan and you just started to throw patterns on patterns on patterns, and some of you kind of dug yourselves holes and other people did okay. But Miss Musgrove is actually the architecture teacher that was here last year, and she came in and subbed for my 5th and 7th period classes, and she did a little demonstration about sketching here. So this is actually like the sketch of a fictitious castle that is an isometric sketch, okay? Iso meaning equal, and metric meaning, I think, direction or measure, so equal measure, right? So we're going to learn how to do that today. But I do also want to show you the examples of me and what I've done in my life and things here. So I rolled this cart in here, actually, as a demonstration. Guess what? These carts right here that this box is on, 3D printers that didn't have a place to go. We had 5 of them. We needed a place to go to put them, right? These didn't exist at the beginning of the school year here, but now they do because we made them here in class, all right? So how these went from an idea in my head to something in reality here was, well, sort of. I had to think things out here a little bit. I'm going to minimize that screen down. We didn't 3D print. No, we ended up actually cutting, sawing, and welding. But notice this started somewhere. This was like July in the summer that I created this sketch on a piece of paper that looks relatively close to what we've got here, right? And it's kind of faint, and it didn't copy well, but there's actually the monitor with this like stand-up post thing, and guess what? There's that. And then even I had to model up and draw these brackets that hold the monitor in place here and everything, right? So guess what? I did end up ultimately going into a solid modeling software to do these things, but the concepts for those things actually started as, even those little brackets here, if I can do that here, came off and started as sketches in my notebook as this. And then I went also to an isometric sketch by hand here to get my ideas straight so that when I went into solid modeling, I had a bit of a plan before I started, okay? And it came together pretty nicely. Everything fit. I was able to make solid models and then generate G-code that actually ran the CNC machines out there to cut these aluminum brackets out. It was awesome. And it all started with a piece of paper, a pencil, and my brain, okay? So this is why we're taking a little bit of a step back here to give you some more tools that in case the power goes out or something bad goes on, or you don't have access to a computer and you need to get a concept started, all right? And I think you're going to be better off. So everybody cool? You got your ISO grid paper taped down to your desk there? Cool? That's easy enough. All right. Now what we've got here is your piece of tracing paper, okay? Everybody got a piece of tracing paper or missing that? Nope. So don't even worry. Who actually taped their piece of tracing paper down to their ISO grid paper? Nah, I didn't ask you to do that. Okay, so this is going to be free floating on top. Okay? And this is actually going to come in a little bit handy here where we can shuffle things around. But anybody in here, you don't have to tell me. If you're colorblind, I had some students that had grayscale issues last year that struggled with this. Just let me know if that's a consideration for you. Hopefully the tracing paper on top will overcome this. But okay, so this ISO grid paper. are actually, what type of triangles? I know it can be a little bit of a distracting thing here, but if you were to take a look at those triangles, what type of triangles are those?
Equilateral.
Ah, you got it over there, Rob, you got it. Equilateral, they are not isosceles. So isosceles would be two equal sides and one unequal base. But an equilateral triangle is sides that are all equal, okay? So these are equilateral triangles in here. And I'm going to just draw on mine here to show you. These are actually 30-degree angles. The way that this works is that these lines going this direction that way, and then back the other direction. Those are 30 degrees to the horizontal plane here, okay? All right. So what I want you to do is in the upper, we're just going to focus in your upper left-hand corner up here, okay? Oh, shucks. Oh, snap. So what I'm doing right now is, yeah, do you not have a pencil? So you can come up here and help yourself to a pencil if you need it, and make sure it's an HB. And if you need to sharpen it off, you can go grab it. But if you don't have a, how do you not just, and it doesn't have to be any fancy pencil either. Like, you guys don't have pencils for other classes? Yeah, HB is what you want. Yep. Really? No writing implements here, and you may want to sharpen this up too then, Jason. All right. So now that we got that out of the way, if you need to sharpen a pencil, go for it, do it. What we're going to do here in the upper left is you've got your tracing paper over the top of the isometric paper here. Let's draw just a little, I'm going to sketch out here just one vertical line right there, okay? And then what I'm going to do is we're actually going to look and we're going to come down, and I want you all to try and follow along with this right now, because what we're going to do is we're going to sketch out what I would call a unit cube. Okay, we're just going to sketch over the top of that.
Wants to do it, right?
Yeah, do it. Follow along. And it's actually going to look kind of like, what is it, an octagon even maybe? A hexagon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got me, yep, hexagon. Silly Mr. Foreman. But it's actually made up of these parallelogram shapes. Okay, so I want you guys to make that little thing there. You see that? Yeah, you can see some kind of trippy things here. But anyway, once you get that, if you lift your tracing paper off here, and you're to like hold it up in the air, oh, look at that! You made like a cube, like optically looking cube thing here, right? What? Wow, look at that! Dang! Cool. And then the reason I didn't have you tape your thing down is you could shift it around if you need to anywhere else. Just give some versatility. So it's really just an underpinning thing here to help with the sketching. But awesome. If you wanted to do this, then you could actually put in those things called hidden lines again if you put the dashes and those back things there. Yeah, you could do that too if you wanted. All right, so you see that? With that, with the ISO grid paper, you can make really nice prismatic shapes look three-dimensional pretty quickly there. Okay, cool. Now, as we get a little bit further into it, we're going to see a relationship potentially between orthographic projection and everything. But who wants to draw Fred in 3 dimensions now? Let's draw Fred. No, we can do it. It's really not going to be that bad. Okay, so what I really need to do here, we're going to use Fred as our example because he's awesome and he's Fred. But we're coming back here. So we're going to want to take a look at Fred here, which hopefully is up on your other monitor. We're going to turn Fred from orthographic 3 view. So if you were a layperson, do you think like if you showed this to your parents right now, they'd have an understanding of what the heck Fred is? No, right? But if you were to show them something that say looked like this, if you showed them that looked something like this, right? They would be able to say, hey, guess what? That's Fred, right? Yeah. So this, intuitively to everybody, this type of sketching makes a bit more sense than this more technical, than this other technical thing. If I do, whoop, hold on, I've lost my scruples here a little bit. That's a little less intuitive, right? Okay. Yeah, easy money, something. But let's see how we can do this. So make sure that you're able to look at this and refer to Fred here. I'm going to move this over to my other screen so I can refer to him. All right, so Fred's over on my other screen here. But you all got, I'm going to show you how we can draw something up like Fred. And what I want everybody to make sure that you do, though, is write your name up here. So this is going to be Mr. Foreman. because y'all are going to turn this into me here at the end of the period, just so I can see how we're doing. Yeah, do whatever, but I mean, I'm just doing Mr. Foreman. Write it up there, and you can even do period 4 if you want, P4. Okay. But I am going to want to check and make sure that everybody's kind of getting this down. So, all right. Now, as we come back to Fred here, and what we may want to do is align things up here, and you're not going to want to shuffle around. Now, if we come back and we look at Fred, and if we were to think of Fred as an entire box of things here, and I have to minimize this down. If Fred were a complete box right now, what would the dimensions of Fred be if he was just a complete cube thing with no cutouts? So 3 by 2 by 1.5 again, right? Okay. And you would agree that this was the front, like the 2 circles staring at us is the front of Fred, right? Okay, we've been over this many a time with Fred. All right. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to pick the highest point. We're going to start with either the highest point or the lowest point. I'm going to go for the highest point. So somewhere up, say right about here, and you guys can pick whatever you all want to do. You see I've got kind of a point up about right there that I've just created a point there, right? Okay. So each length, if we come back and look at our unit cube right here, what we're going to call each one of those triangle shapes right here, that's going to be equivalent to 1/4 of an inch for us, all right? That's going to be equivalent to 1/4 of an inch, or 0.250, okay? I just did this recently. I just did this now, and it works out pretty well, all right? So each one of those is equal to 1/4 of an inch, all right? So starting from this point here, and if we're going to go this direction, say, how many triangles do we want to count out to represent? That's going to be the 1.5 inch dimension, right? 6. Okay, so I think that sounds right to me. So let's try this here. We're going to do, I'm going to minimize this thing here. So what we're doing right now is we're going to be drawing this 1.5 inch line right there, the thickness of Fred up at the top. All right, and I'm going to move this screen over here so I can see. Then I'm going to blow this back up. So you guys count it out. So that's 1/4 of an inch, that's 1/2 an inch, that's 3/4 of an inch, that's 1 inch. I'm going to put a little tick mark there just so I can keep it straight. And then another 2. 1, 2, that would be 1.5 inches going this direction, that way there, okay? And then you can ever so lightly, do it kind of light, but then draw in between that there. You all catching that? Okay, cool. All right. So now where we theoretically are right now, if I actually pull up my actual Fred thing right here, can you all see that we actually started, that was this corner right here, and we've come now off, and we'd be at a theoretical point in space, floating on Fred, like somewhere right here, okay? That's going to be that point right there, if I align myself up here a little bit more. All right. So now what we're actually going to have to do is we're going to have to come downward with Fred. I'm going to do this. So now what we're looking at is from that, and I don't know how well my cursor is going to show up here, so I'm going to come like that corner. We're going to be coming down vertically 2 inches from this point right here. We're now going to be going down that direction, and it's going to be equivalent to 2 inches. So how many triangle shapes is that going to be to represent 2 inches? 8. Very good, Lucas. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I'm going to put another little point down there. And guess what? I'm going to draw a straight line down right there, right? Okay. Cool. So now where we theoretically are on Fred is this point right here. This little point right here is literally that point on Fred right there. Okay? So now what we would be doing is we're going to draw this line going that direction to the other point of Fred. Okay? So now we're going to do that. How long is it, looking at your Fred drawing, from that point to the other one? It's 3 inches, right? Okay, so how many do we have to count off triangles, 12. Okay, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going this direction, that way. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's an inch. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's another inch, that's 2 inches. 1, 2, 3, and 4, that is 3 inches away that way. And guess what? Now you can follow that line along right there. That is a long one. That is Fred's long side. Dare say his good side, but whatever. Alright, so what we have done now is draw that line from there to there. Catching it, Brandon? Not getting too caught up on fantasy football there?
No.
Alright, good. Alright. Cool. So now we're at that corner right here. Alright, we could get bogged down in the details of Fred right now, but what I'm going to choose to do is just make Fred this cube here. So if we come back up from this point here, I'm just going to ever so lightly just follow and trace this line back up here. Okay, so keep in mind I did these lines. We're going to be erasing some stuff away here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this line right here coming along to right there. Okay, and then I can come back up to the very top point where we started, and I'm going to come this way right here. And then I'm actually going to come over here. And I'm going to come back down here. And notice how I'm always following those 30-degree lines and the vertical lines. I'm not digressing or diverging from those at all. And guess what? If you've accomplished that, then we have got, as I raise this off my thing, so the ISO grid paper drops away, who's got this? Who's got this looking shape here? Almost. Evan's got it. Hey, this is working out pretty well. If I lost anybody that, as you raise off, you're going to end up, you need another piece of tracing paper, you got another one. Good, perfect. So what you're ultimately going to end up with, hey, nice. This isn't exactly Fred yet, but it is the extensive Fred. You seeing that? If he was a solid block as he started and you had to start whittling Fred away like he was a block of butter or something like that, and you had a... Yeah, and then you would do the cut extrude feature and you'd hack them away. Exactly, Lucas. So you're starting to kind of get it here, right? So, where do we want to start with Fred now to start hacking away and actually getting his features started? Well, it really depends. As you get more adept at this, you can pick and choose and go cool, but what I'm going to recommend we do is start with a corner that we for sure have got solid material on. It would be a little bit problematic if we started, say, on that corner up there. Like this corner up here may not be the best place for us to start right now. Okay? But what I will recommend we do, let's start with Fred's corner down here. Okay? We're going to start with this leading edge corner right here. All right? And this is why I did not tape down my my tracing paper. Okay, you're going to see that it's actually kind of helpful that it's not taped down. It doesn't really matter so much. Just so long as you realign lines that you've already drawn here, it's going to work out well. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start from this bottom corner down here. Okay, so now looking at your Fred drawing, what distance was it from that corner to this top corner right here? 0.75, okay. So how many triangles should that be? 3. Very good. So what we're going to do is, starting from this corner down here then, we're going to count up vertically 1, 2, and 3 right there. And you can even put in a little dot right there if you want. All right? So what I am going to do now is I'm going to darken this edge in a lot more. Right up to that point. Now, does it make sense? This line that carries from that point up here, does that make any sense whatsoever now in our... Huh? No. So this would be the point at which if you've got an eraser or need to borrow one or come up here and grab it, you're actually going to start to erase that line away. Okay? That line is going bye-bye. Bye-bye line. And this vellum, this is tracing paper and it's vellum, it actually erases away really nicely. It's very nice paper. Okay, so now we've got this little, what we've done right now then is we've actually drawn this little segment right there. Okay? Cool. That little segment right there is this line segment right there. Okay, now we do have a choice. Which way do you all want to go, right or left? We want to go left. All right, well, we'll see how this works then. Yeah, right, that might be a little bit easier, actually. Let's go right. We're going to go this direction, this way. Okay, we're going to end up going this way. Okay, so this maybe makes a little bit more sense now if we look at it from right view here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing this line right here on Fred. Okay, so from here, guess what? Where do you think this goes? This line? Yeah, it's just going to cut all the way across because this line here goes the entire length of Fred. There it goes, just that way right there. Okay. Now this line segment that I'm pointing out from that point right there to this point down here, does that make sense anymore? Not so much. That segment would get erased away. Okay. Bye-bye. And even this up here, but we can wait on that. We'll erase it away. So, all right, so we've got that. And you can even darken in now that rectangle that we just drew. This right here we do, because guess what? That's representing that line, and that line of Fred. Okay. Cool. Getting it down. That's good. Okay. Now we do have the decision from here. All right, it's starting to get a little bit more. So we've got our choice. We've either got from this corner right here to go that way or this corner back here to go there. We go up. Well, let's start from here and go on the front face of Fred here, this direction right there, okay? So we're going to go, we could try it. I mean, here's now where if you're starting to feel confident and think you can do this, I'll allow you the choice. But if you want to follow along, I mean, and if you lift your piece of paper up right now, what we've got right now is something that looks like that on our piece of paper, okay? Sort of like that. That's cool. Okay. Now, yeah, I'm going to do this right here. We're going to end up drawing Fred from this corner point right here to that point right there. Okay, now we've got to come back and take a look here to figure out what's the length of that segment right there. Well, yeah, so it's actually going to be 1.75 minus 3, so 1.25. All right, and how many grid points is that then? It'll be probably 6 again. No, excuse me, 5. Yeah, 5. We got it. So from right here, that's 1 triangle, 2 triangles, 3 triangles, 4 triangles, 5 triangles, and another little point right there. Yes, Jason.
Do you have another,
Which?
Fred? You have 2?
I do have 2 Freds. Yes, there is a second Fred floating here somewhere. You see it on the edge of my desk? I don't know. Well, you can have mine if you want.
Okay, there's one right there. There's one right there.
Where?
Right there.
Oh yeah, right by me. So you can have that one, Jason. If anybody else needs a Fred too, feel free to come around. So notice how I counted 5 right there, okay? And then Fred. We've got a little step up right here that I believe is actually a 0.25 step up, right? Okay, so what we're going to do here now is just vertically up that direction. We're just going to go 1 triangle up, okay? Easy there. Oh, there. I don't know, Lucas. We'll tone it down, I guess, a little bit. Everybody else, I don't know. All right. So if we went there, that's that corner. We're coming up here. I remind you, we're on camera here. So anyway. Anyhow, we're now at that corner here, and we could come now start cutting across this direction back that way, right? Woo! So now we could either, I mean, you could do this lightly here. It would be somewhat of a, it would be somewhat of a mistake here if we carried this all the way across. But how thick? Oh, not so much.
I wrinkled the paper.
Oh, well, just go gently, like, calm it down, go gently. How thick, what was the dimension from here to there on Fred? 1 inch, right? So that's going to be just 4 triangles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoop, to right there. And now it's going to make sense, definitely, to start erasing some other things away. So this whole line right here no longer makes any sense. That goes away. Okay. That goes bye-bye. And now, do you see a solid... Where would the actual next line from this point go? From this point right here, where would that need to go? Huh? So this point right here is this point right here on Fred, which looking at it from front view here would just go straight vertically up, right? But we need to know how far, sort of, I guess. But you could just kind of lightly come vertically here up. Just going to carry that lightly up here right now. I'm not exactly sure where to, but I'm just carrying it vertically up like that. It's starting to kind of make some sense here, sort of. So leave that point just for a second. How about we come back to this? How about we come back to this corner right here? Not circles yet, I know. So that's going to be one other thing. Oop, we should probably erase that one away in full. That corner there gets erased away. Now guess what? I'm back at this corner here. What do we need to do from this corner? Yeah, we're going to go this direction back. Coming back this way. But my goodness, how far? What makes sense? Well... Huh? Which point? Where I've got my pencil right now?
When I did it,
Which?
I made this block too short.
Did you make that one too short, you think? I don't know. It looks okay. It's possible.
They look both the exact same, if not.
It's possible. Well, so recount them. See what happens if you need to make a little adjustment. Not too big. But
From here to here is supposed to be 0.5.
yeah, so from here to there is going to be 0.5. So did I mess something up? It's possible. Well, the other thing too here is, yeah, so right here, down here, we're kind of missing a line that we need to carry across. So from this corner right here, we actually need to carry this line that direction to represent this line coming across here. And ultimately, this line here needs to be the same number of triangles as this line down here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so it carries to right there. Guess what? There we go. And if I darken that in a little bit more, that kind of makes some sense, right? Okay. Now, if I got my corners off here a little bit, guess what? Then this actually creates, do you see them, Lucas? There's one triangle right there, and there's a second triangle right there. Do you see on my one triangle, two triangle? And that makes up a 1/2 inch, right? So from this corner right here, so that corner right here, we come up vertically. All the way up. So we'd actually intersect. This segment right here was one of the original segments that we had drawn when we were first boxing Fred out. You see how that comes up vertically to here? Okay. And then from this corner right here, how many triangles do I need to count back to give the thickness of this up here? 2. Yeah, 5. 2. No, 2 is good. And that's coming this direction right here. Guess what? I carried that line a little bit too far. And here I am. Alright. And guess what? From this corner here, guess what? Fred carries all the way across right there. That's the top face. That's the top face of Fred right there that I just drew. This right here. Okay. And then that establishes that if I come, this point right here is that point right there. Thanks, Fred. You have provided so many lessons for me this year. That's awesome. I should. I owe Fred royalties. We'll set up like the Fred Educational Fund or something, or like. Add to, oh yeah, we could have some Fred interfacing parts, sure. we'll come up with some useless Fred widgets and accessories. He's kind of got 2 different sized eyes or something. Yeah, hey, that would be an actually great idea. We'll come up with some interfaces to Fred. How about that? Huh?
But we don't have to draw them.
Was that a line I already made? Yes, actually, technically it was. It's just coincidentally aligned to that one right there. But it's going to go, not all of it is needed, because what we would do then is we would carry down. Do you see how things start all of a sudden making their own kind of logic and sense? That I would carry that line down there, and that gets erased away. Okay, so that's going bye-bye. All right, and then we can carry Fred out from this corner right here. I've just got to follow that line to right there. And then I come back this way there. And then, yeah. There is, if I erase this away, so that needs to go away now. There. Aha! Voila! If I lift up, oh, Fred has appeared out of nothing. Or at least most of Fred. But we still got to put some holes in Fred, right? Who's that guy? All right. Oh, Fred. Who didn't think? How's everybody doing? I should walk around the room. I haven't done that yet. Awesome. Okay, cool. Cool. Hey-oh. We even got hidden lines going there in the background. You smarty pants. What? Smarty pantses with little dashed lines to do hidden things behind the back. All right. Yeah, Brady's got it. Nice. All right. So, the holes in Fred here. Now, these numbers get a little less. We're going to have to deal with half units here coming up. But never fear. Guess what? Because we didn't tape this down, we can shift things around a little bit. And I won't belabor the holes too much here on this, but we'll talk a little bit more. How do you think these holes are going to come out? Are they going to be perfect circles, or are they going to be something else? Perfect. Something else. All right. There, in isometric view, our perfect circles are actually going to end up as ellipses. Okay? They are actually elliptical shapes. Now, we would have, there are some drafting tools that I don't have. These are perfect circles here. Okay? A perfect circle. Great band from the early 2000s, 90s, whatever. But there are some drafting tools that are actually ellipses on this. Don't sweat it here. We're just going to roughly sketch. We are roughly sketching here. It doesn't have to be perfect. But let's deal with Fred's whole feature that is, say, on this face right here to start. It's going to be a little bit nicer than the other two. Let's deal with this one here. So we agree that it is 3/4 of an inch up from the front face, this leading edge face here. And it's actually 0.625 is 5/8. So 5/8 is equivalent to how many quarters? 5/8 would be, so 4/8 would be 4/8 would be 2/4, right? So that would be 2. And then we've got to go another half of an increment here to get that 5/8. So we'll do that here in a second. Have I confused anybody with that? All right. Well, let's go in the easy direction first. All right. So from this corner right here, it's 3/4 of an inch inward, which is just 1, 2, 3 triangles. Okay, and I'm just going to make a little tick mark right there. But then from this corner, what we've got to do is we're going to go, it was 2.5. It's going to be 2.5 triangle lengths here. So guess what? There's 1, 2, and then we're going to go halfway on the next one, and I'm just eyeballing it here. So right there's that marker right there. You see that? And if I were to carry up this way, I'm just going to go lightly. All right, there. And then I could either eyeball it straight across here and go halfway, or what I could do is like a half tick over. See how I shifted my paper just a little bit? Oh. You see how I did that? So watch this right here. So now everything's aligned, like my corner, it was going to be 2.5 triangles to go from this corner that direction, okay? 2.5 is going to give us the 5/8 that we want. All right, so what I can do, see, notice how I did that little half tick mark right there? I could just carry that up and come right here, and that's actually going to be the center of the circle right there. Well, the other way, so yeah, it was only 1, 2, 3, if you're looking at your screen right now, Lucas. 1, 2, 3 gets us right there. But what I'm drawing right here is like the center 30-degree lines, X marks the spot. That's the center of this thing right here. But now what I am going to do is I'm going to shuffle myself. I'm sliding my paper now. Notice how, so this way right now, the corners here are meeting up nicely with the iso grid paper right there, right? See that? A little trick here now, I'm going to shift so that that X I just made is lined up with the iso grid paper right here. Because what was the diameter of that circle that we need to make on this face right here? 1/2 inch diameter, was it? 0.5? So that means that a radius, we need to count one triangle one direction right there, and one triangle the other way, one triangle that way, and one triangle that way. And if I lift my piece of paper up here, do you guys see that right there? Kind of what I got going on? Okay. Because what I'm going to do now is just roughly make an ellipse. Just kind of make it kind of as cool as I can. And it really goes from a tangent point here, and it's going to come up. I'm probably not going to do the most perfect job of this here, but there's one little elliptical thing. There's another kind of elliptical thingy. There's another elliptical. And my last fourth one here. And you're going to see that I can kind of roughly get that. So that looks, hey, no, it's not too bad. Not horrible. As I lift that up, I've now got roughly a circular shape, an ellipse that would represent a perfect circle if you're looking at it that way. But notice even as I do this, even if I were doing like an isometric view this way, notice how it does start looking elliptical. But now we can also start talking here. I'm thinking of a word that starts with P that would relate to this. Or not relate. Starts with a P. Perspective. Okay? Do you think that there's any actual perspective in an isometric sketch that we've got here right now? Yes? No? Or what I mean by perspective is if you were, if you were to actually look in real life, if you look out to the horizon, things shrink as they get further away from you, right? Yes. Do we get that with isometric sketching? No. So these are all actually, there is no perspective, there is no foreshortening. These things are literally now, if you were to take a look back at Fred, the orthographic drawing here, where everything is exactly the right size here, what we've kind of actually done is refolded up these views of front, right, and top, but kicked them on a 30-degree here, so that we get the optical illusion of 3 dimensions that we can understand here, that everybody just kind of knows here. But it's not actually like a realistic thing, like a big building that's often at this point would be foreshortened. Okay? But you still would agree now that whatever you guys have created here, hopefully, if you took it to your parents and said, hey, here's Fred, pick Fred out of a lineup of parts sitting in front of you, you think your parents would be able to do that? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so this way, to get a layperson or somebody else that doesn't have a lot of technical understanding, you're trying to impress a customer, this is an amazingly good technique to use, right? So I won't belabor, I'll let you guys see if you can get these 2 other holes here. It's a little bit more challenging and the numbers don't quite line up super pretty. But if you even just wanted to eyeball in where to put the holes, I have a feeling you would be able to do that here and kind of line up where Fred's other 2 features need to be. So I'll challenge you guys to think that through. It doesn't have to be perfect. By no means does it have to be perfect. Yeah, sure, that looks good enough to represent the fact that there's holes in there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I just want to collect it. Make sure your name's on it. I just want to see how you all did with this little short exercise, which ended up taking about 40 minutes. Okay.
39 actually.
39 and something as it's ticking along. So that might be a little bit of a long video to go back and watch later on YouTube, but it's there if you need to fast forward through and see how we did this thing. But for the other thing, so what did we, if I were to just enforce with you all, how did we start this whole process? If I were to do the number 1 of what the things that we did first with Fred to draw this, what was the first thing that we started with? Yes, very good. That's what I was looking for. It's like Fred the cube or Fred the rectangular shape. So Fred the rectangle.
You want this?
Yeah, give me a second here. Actually, what you can do is put it in. Jason, what I'll have you do is walk around, do the 4th period 2 grade, and put that in here.
Sounds good.
All right? So, Fred the rectangle, or part the rectangle to start. Then we kind of worked around the corners from solidus. So what we did then is worked around the corners. Work around the corners where there was solid material. All right, and then from there we had to kind of use our things. But we were always working also on the verticals and those 30-degree lines. We didn't diverge from that on this simple example. We could on other ones, but we're going to keep it very simple to right angular shapes right now. Cool. So I'm going to pause this recording.